Hey all, this is 01Turboku coming at you with another review. Sorry about that sun there again, but yeah, it's coming at you with a review of, you guessed it, back time for another episode of Fullmetal Alchemist, the original. And within this one, we are on the episode 21, The Red Glow, and this takes off right where Alphonse and Edward are still at Laboratory 5. Alphonse is dealing with number 66 and or Barry the Chopper, Barry, who is got one up over Alphonse so he could win. He basically fakes him out like we said with that thing of if he ever really existed or if his brother Edward just implanted everything into him and his whole life's a fake. Edward calls Barry out for the same thing, even though Alphonse is struggling with it. This question actually seems to rattle Barry, and while this question rattles Barry, someone else comes in to the laboratory and jumps down over the wall. Barry, who's excited with glee, tells Alphonse a simple truth he believes, that he kills, therefore he is, because he's like, I kill, therefore I am, and he uses that justification that that's all he needs and that's what he'll need to describe himself. And then the culprit who came in was actually Scar looking for Fullmetal Alchemist Edward Elric, and he basically grabs Barry by his arm and he says, well, if that's all you need to define your living, you won't need to worry much longer because you won't be alive much longer. And it cut to the intro and where Scar and Barry are fighting. Basically, it isn't much. Barry tries to complain that it's unfair, that he tries to fake out Scar. Scar, using his arm of destruction, basically destroys Barry's one arm, and Barry is now down to only one arm, and he basically is freaking out. He notices the tattoo on Scar's arm, saying he recognizes it and why Scar has that symbol. Scar wants more answers. Barry refuses to give them. Barry basically breaks away from Scar, and he's biding for time, trying to say he's going to talk, but he's not going to talk. He hits a button on one of the walls, and there's a huge explosion within the lab, or within the outside of the lab, basically dismantling the Laboratory 5 walls. Guards next to the prison hear this. Soph J. Kimberly hears this. Guards are outside the prison listening to Kimberly basically meander at these sweet, sweet sounds, and Kimberly has been chosen among a group of prisoners getting ready to go into Laboratory 5, which the guards don't question. They say, hey, if it's just as bad as being executed, maybe this is what they deserve. So the guards just do their job. They don't really ask questions to where these prisoners who are on death row go, and Soph J. Kimberly is one of them. And we learn that Envy is posing as Boss Gran, who, as we know, was killed by Scar several episodes back, and he's posing as Boss Gran and delivering them to Envy and Gluttony, or to Lust and Gluttony. Lust and Gluttony wonder about this hole because the explosion woke up somebody named Greed. It seemed like there was this skull embedded into the wall. The skull crumbled or came loose, setting, Greed free. Greed, who in the previous episode, if I told you about him, was basically, he seemed like he was unconscious in the cell. He was tied up. He broke free of his bonds, got out of the cell, and is telling all these Chimera and other people who are in these cells with him, come with me if you want to survive. Edward and the Slicer brothers, both number 48, 1 and 2, the older and younger brother, hear the explosions. Slicer says, oh yeah, there's explosions all over this place. The place comes down. Edward wants to get a move on to go further into the lab. He doesn't know, he wants to bring the older Slicer brother with him, but doesn't know what to do with the younger brother. He thinks about reattaching the younger brother to him. The younger brother, however, doesn't want to be reattached. He, like his older brother, tells, Edward, just end it, end me quickly. I've lived long enough. I don't want to live like this anymore. And then, Edward's like, but I can restore you. If I find out what's here for my younger brother, I can restore you guys. And both Slicer brothers say, well, where would we go? You bring us back to life, we'll just end up back in prison, and we'll just be killed again, executed. And then, he says, well, I can put you guys still back together. And he's like, walk around as husks. Both brothers, the older and younger Slicer brothers say, you gave us a taste of life again. Why would we want to go back to being even just this? You made us realize that we were brothers. We were important. Let me go out this way. And believe it or not, this didn't happen in Brotherhood. In Brotherhood, if you guys remember when we talked about it, the younger Slicer brother was in half. Envy came, picked up the Slicer brother's sword, and kept stabbing the younger Slicer brother in with the blood seal all over again. Effectively killing the younger Slicer brother. Envy also did it to the older Slicer brother who was about to, spill the beans on the lab, and, Envy stopped the older Slicer brother from doing that, effectively killing him. But in this one, because the younger brother did not want to be reattached, he places his thumb over his blood seal. Edward tries to stop him, begging and pleading. A great performance by both Romy Parker and Vic Mignogna in this, begging and pleading the younger brother not to do it. He's begging the older brother, speak to him, he's your older brother, don't let him do this. And both brothers understand that the choice has been given. The younger brother doesn't want to live this way. The older brother has decided. The younger brother, takes himself out by breaking off his blood seal, effectively killing him. The suit that the younger brother was a part of becomes lifeless. The older brother sits there. Edward doesn't understand this, doesn't get why. The older Slicer brother says, you gave him the choice. You made him feel alive again. That was his choice. You gave this to him, Edward. Be happy for that. Don't worry, younger brother. I will join you soon. Basically saying that I'll be right behind you and join you soon in death, and we'll be together again. And this leads them to going throughout the lab to where, the older brother Slicer and Edward are journeying down. Edward gets attacked by chimeras. He starts attacking and killing these chimeras. All of a sudden, there's a whistle. You have the chimeras stop and bow to whoever their master is, and then this big bear hulking thing comes out of nowhere. Edward doesn't know where it is. Surprise, surprise, this bear hulking thing is actually Shao Tucker. That's right, it's Shao Tucker wasn't executed. It was made up to be a lie so Shao Tucker could continue building the Philosopher's Stone, which he couldn't fully do, and he takes Edward to his lab to where he shows Edward his true purpose isn't just building chimeras and working for whoever this mastermind is to make the Philosopher's Stone, but it is actually to resurrect his dead daughter, who obviously you could tell Shao Tucker had some grief because while he was trying to resurrect his daughter, he has many containers with her in them, and again, he failed to make her several times. It is time to remake her body. He turned himself into that bear human thing as a failed test trying to do that, so that's part of his sin, this creepy beast of burden. And also, Shao Tucker is upside down, which I sort of view as sort of like an upside down crucifixion, meaning he's paying for his type of sins. You have Alpha. And I forgot, after Barry destroyed the wall, he basically runs into the lab, taking off, Scar, wanting to know more, runs after Barry. Alphonse accompanies him, and Alphonse and Scar have this talk. Alphonse and him talk about the war in Ishbal, and you have Scar talk about, what they were going through. Scar's younger brother, or Scar's older brother, which this is a weird thing, like Scar doesn't have a signature scar yet. He has brown hair still and nothing, has phased him yet. He's still very young. He's in his monk outfit. he's speaking to his older brother knocking on his door. His older brother comes out. Clearly, he's all covered in blood, and there's obviously an alchemic circle in there with all these different things. His brother tried human transmutation, and he says, I failed to bring her back. I couldn't bring her back. I couldn't do this at all and have what happens again. And then, time passes again to where we're well thick within the War of Ishval. You have Scar, who's older. He's got the white hair now. He still doesn't have the signature scar, but he has his white hair. He's, been training with the warrior monks. He's got a gun. He comes to his brother, telling his brother it's time for them to leave the city. His brother comes out, eyes wide with a jubilation and a fear, saying that this was all preordained, that he should have never touched this, that yes, Ishval has to fall. You don't understand the reason what I was trying to do, brother. It would have to fall for this to happen. It was preordained. It was all these things. I understand what you mean now, that this was the devil's magic. And there's these symbols that his brother has all over his body, like one big continuous symbol with several other symbols scribbled in. And, he's naked as can be, saying, I had no idea what I would have to do to achieve this. It would take many souls. We all need to die. And then all of a sudden, there's a bomb that comes down on top of his brother's house. His brother Scar's buried in the rumble, and he's calling after his brother, who's just walking like zombie-like naked through the city still. And that's what, Scar told Alphonse the truth of what really happened in the Ishval War and what happened between him and his brother, and how they considered what, and he was basically saying how Amestria is Amestria is the whole country, but how Central and the military had sent their alchemy to, fight them in the war and cause damage and untold devastation. As they're talking about this, though, Gluttony and Lust show up through another door. They're confronting Alphonse and they're confronting Scar, and they start to fight each other again. But before they do, Scar says it's the homunculi. Alphonse is like, homunculi? That can't be. That's impossible. And then Scar says, you, to Lust. How do you have her face? Is my brother a part of this? Did my brother bring you back? She has no idea what he's talking about, and they begin to fight. You have Edward go through a door that Tucker directed him through, and you have this area where you have this whole square round tank with several other with 4 little tanks in the middle of the floor connected to this big tank of unrefined Philosopher's Stone, where, Edward touches the knob and out comes the liquid globule of the Philosopher's Stone, but it's unrefined, it's incomplete. It's what Dr. Marco had. It's what Father Cornello was using in Lior. And it was all these things, and you have Edward sort of light up and is curious, and you have Shao Tucker basically say, nobody can handle this, nobody can do this. I can't do it. It would take an alchemist of unrefined skill to use all this stuff and to just be able to control it. And because Alphonse thinks he has the opportunity here with this unrefined Philosopher's Stone, he thinks he could use it to do it, and he tells Shao Tucker, well, I'm not a normal alchemist. And Shao Tucker has this weird shit-eating grin on the side of his face of evil intent. So it seems there's something that is not right within the neighborhood of Shao Tucker, and there's nefarious purposes. Obviously, I'm going to say it's going to involve something with his daughter Nina, or maybe the higher-ups he does serve, who knows. It's been a while since I've seen it, so I sort of forget, but that's basically the episode in a nutshell. Basically, sorry, I'm saying basically again, apologies, but my favorite characters in this, again, almost everybody did a great job, but I have to give it to Edward Vic Mignogna, Romy Paku. Great performance from him and Romy Paku. They gave great emotion, especially when the brother was trying to kill himself, and when he sees the unrefined stone room, or he sees Tucker again. His rage, his sorrow, his shock all played out very well. And Vic Mignogna, I mean, credit to you for giving a great performance. I have to give it to Alphonse, Aaron Desmouk for the same thing, and Rie Kugamiya. Their shock, their refinement, so well done. Scar, Damian Clark, Ryutaru Okayayu for his anger of explaining Ishval, wanting to know the truth. Him just being a complete badass, just well performed and done. Greed, Chris Patton, Junichi Suwabe. Short roll for Greed in this one, but just as soon as Greed is free and just like everything, the delicious evilness that Chris Patton and Junichi Suwabe bring out in this one is just top notch and excellent. I love it. I have to say Tucker, Chuck Huber, Makoto Yugai. Seeing Tucker again and having his low voice be this low whisper, insanely creepy from both men. Barry, Jerry Jewell, Kentaro Ito, just great stuff. Evil to the max, creepy dude, and just psychotic as all hell. So great job to both of them. Kimberly, Eric Vale, Yuji Ueda. Short roll again for them, but Kimberly just being this creepy evil dude, enjoying the evil battle and destruction. Him just savoring it. Well done to both men. Scar's brother, Bill Townsley, Yu Nishimura. I have got to say, Bill Townsley and Yu Nishimura, you want to talk about again at the end of his tether, and he just went nuts and lost it. This was a great role, and Yu Nishimura and Bill Townsley, both of them brought it for this episode. It was really well done. And then I have to give it to both Slicer brothers, 48 older brother, 48 younger brother, Bill Jenkins, Shinya Utaki, and Duncan Brannon, Koichi Sakaguchi. Just, the brothers brought this performance of them being treated human again and then just wanting to die, knowing they could really be nothing else and survive in this world. Tugged at the heartstrings, was hard to hear, but you can respect their choices, honor their choices, and it just makes you reach out for them, to weep for them, to feel sad for them, but also know that they do and somehow believe in a life after death, and probably more than likely both brothers will be going to hell if I had to imagine, possibly. I don't know how they'd be judged, but you know, either way they will look at it as they are going to go together, and both brothers played it off spectacularly and splendidly. Overall, this episode moved the needle very well. It's like it's culminating into a huge thing. The unrefined Philosopher's Stone, Edward thinking he has what he wants to save his brother, Alphonse just questioning everything, Scar trying to find out the truth about the homunculi, his arm, what everything is going on here, what is Laboratory 5, the government, Shao Tucker, all these things culminating to what are the homunculi doing with all this stuff. You know, again, it's leading to a great thing that's just becoming an awesome bit, and it's great to see. But again, what do you guys think? You know, tell me what you thought about this episode, or again, what you think about the show in general. Just leave a comment down below, and we'll get this discussion going. Until then, this is 012 Boku coming at you with another review for Fullmetal Alchemist, and I'll see you guys again later.